Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's meeting of the Hamilton Rotary Club. I will call George Johnson, to the podium to introduce our guest and program. Thank you, George.
Enough. I'm pleased to introduce Mike Holbrook, Assistant Superintendent for the Hamilton City Schools. Mike is a graduate of Wright State, both his undergraduate degree, master's degree, and has a education leadership training and principal licensure from Xavier. He had his superintendent licensure from Xavier in 2010. For 10 years, he taught in the Cincinnati Public Schools. He served as an assistant principal at Western Hills High School and then served as principal at Western Hills for 3 years. He was a principal at Lakota Plains Junior School for 5 years. He was executive director of curriculum and instruction and assistant director of curriculum and intervention in Mount Healthy and the Northwest local schools. And last year he came to Hamilton as assistant superintendent. I know Tony Orr was billed as part of the program, but Tony has had shoulder surgery, and Mike will very capably take the whole program. Mike?
Thanks, George. Well, first of all, Mr. Orr did want to be here today. I know that he is just getting out of surgery pretty much as I speak, so I will pinch hit and do the best I can. But we've got a lot of exciting things going on in Hamilton that I want to share with all of you today. And I'm going to start with a quote because I think it's really important. Over the last year, I have had the opportunity to be involved with our Business Advisory Council. And part of the feedback that I've heard about that council is the fact that our kids are leaving us maybe with skills technologically, but not soft skills. You know, the value of a critical conversation where you have to sit down and talk with one another, writing skills. And so we have started a major writing initiative in our district that started last year, and really the theme of it can be summed up. The essence of being educated is to put your thoughts into written form. And if we can do that, and we can teach our kids and develop their skills and knowledge into doing those things, you know, we feel like that is going to be a huge benefit. Now, in addition to that, how do you work on soft skills? We know we have an ever-changing economy. We know we have an ever-changing skill base as far as what's expected in industry with regards to technology, with regards to actual skills that students need. But yet I can tell you there's a huge divide when I interview 22 and 23-year-old kids, and in the middle of an interview they pull out a cell phone to text. And just realizing when that is and when that isn't appropriate. Or sending out an email that reads as if it is a text message instead of a professional correspondence between themselves and whomever they're sending that to. Those are soft skills that oftentimes get overlooked, that we're starting to emphasize in not only our technology curriculum, but in all of our curriculums as we talk about communication. And is that part of the Common Core that we teach? No. Is it part of life and it's part of real experiences that we know our students are going to need? Absolutely. And so when we start talking about instruction and we start talking about student achievement and we start talking about all of those things, these are soft skills that are invaluable as students leave us to their various opportunities. We've got several big pushes this year, and it's all across the continuum of servicing students. The first is College Credit Plus, and for those of you that aren't familiar with that, this is something that has been around for 2 or 3 years, but students now have the opportunity to take a course for high school and college credit. at no cost to the families. Boy, I got a junior and senior in college right now, and let me tell you, I wish this program was in existence when they were in high school, because it can be a huge opportunity for students and families that at some point saw college as a non-affordable option, that students can walk away, and we have some students that have walked away with 30 to 40 semester hours prior to them ever going onto a college campus, paid for by the district. And that's a huge push. And so we're looking to credential some of our high school teachers so that instead of our students necessarily having to go all the time to Miami Hamilton or to take the course online, we can actually work with those universities and have our teacher credentialed so that they can get credit taking the course at Hamilton High School. And I think that's going to be a huge benefit for many of our students as we get this program up and developed. The second thing that we've got going on that's real exciting is that in November, we have our band that is going to be traveling to Hawaii to participate in ceremonies honoring the 75th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. And that's quite an accomplishment and quite an honor to be selected to do that. It's very competitive to be selected for that, and you know we have been preparing now for almost 2 years for that upcoming trip. But the biggest thing we've been able to do that without using any general fund monies for that. That has all been privately donated or donated through fundraising activities, which I think speaks volumes to the dedication of our fine arts folks. It speaks dedication to our families and our kids. You know, they did a lot of that fundraising themselves, and so that's a real exciting piece that, to be quite honest, that's probably a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for many of our kids. So to have that going on is really, really exciting to see that happen. We've got a number of different programs that we've started offering this year, and once again, this is listening a little bit to the feedback from business advisory councils, listening to the feedback from numerous other groups. And one of those programs that we've started at the high school is something called Project Lead the Way. And what Project Lead the Way is, it's a pathway for students in various avenues of engineering. And it actually starts with preparation work in 7th and 8th grade. And there's a feeder piece to that all the way up through high school. And then depending on what track that the students take, there are articulation agreements with colleges and universities where, especially during those last 2 years, they get some credit for college and university, but more importantly, they're getting practical, hands-on experience with some things that they're going to experience in the workforce later on. And it's been a highly successful program in other places. We know that there's a need out there for those types of skills, and so we would be remiss if we did not encourage our students to at least explore that, especially in 7th and 8th grade. That's a time for students to explore. You know, I got a junior and senior, and I'm not in college, and I'm not sure they know what they want to do. But in 7th and 8th grade, I'm pretty certain that if you ask a kid every month, they're going to have a different idea on what they want to do, just from some of my experiences in the past. So introduce them to the idea and the concept, and if they're interested in continuing with that program, we have a pathway for that student to achieve, and I think that that's really important. We have students all across the continuum. We have students that are struggling to get through high school. We have students that are accepting scholarships to Yale, and we have everybody in between. So we are providing a continuum of programming and services for students all up and down that continuum, you know, along with the opportunities to participate in fine arts, athletics, other after-school activities that we know are really, really, really important to student success. You know, I was having a conversation before we came up here, and we were talking about the concept of athletics and fine arts and debate clubs and things of those natures. The more kids we get involved in those, the better those kids are going to do academically, because they're engaged. And guess what? Some of the criteria for participating in those is doing well academically. So there's an engagement piece there that we can't close our eyes to, in the fact that we know that all of those things are important. The other piece that we need to continue working on is outreach, getting our kids out involved in the community as much as possible. We have started some of that, but that's going to be an ever, that's going to be ever growing and ever going as far as our students participating out there. It's valuable that you see our students and they see you as viable avenues for future employment and just the concept of contributing to a community. I think is a concept that we don't want to lose touch of as testing becomes more burdensome on a yearly basis. These other things are also extremely important. The last thing that I want to speak to you about a little bit is the fact that the number one indicator in students being successful in school, starting from kindergarten, does anyone know what that is? Parental involvement's up there. The education level of mom. The education level, not dad, I hate to tell you guys that. It's the education level of mom is the number one indicator on success through school. A close second, obviously, included in parental involvement is quality preschool programming at an early age. Were they exposed to true preschool programming and not a daycare type situation, but was it academic in nature along with the social skills that we know students need? And with that being said, one of the things that we have dived into a relationship with, and a lot of hands are involved in this, the United Way, the Hamilton Community Foundation, the Butler County ESC, but we have been able to start this year providing free full-day kindergarten, or preschool for students prior to coming to kindergarten. And we know that data shows us that many of our kids are starting in kindergarten already a year or two behind. And we're trying to bridge that gap so that when they get there, they aren't. And the only way to do that is to get them exposed earlier to many of these things that we know they're going to be expected to do. And we're real excited about the start of that. That's going to be an ongoing process. We've increased our enrollment this year. We have about close to 250 to 260 students enrolled in that this year. We hope those numbers continue to grow. But all of these initiatives, all the way from graduation from high school to preschool, when you start looking at that 12 or 13 year piece, everything we do is to provide opportunities for our families and our students. And I had a counselor and I had a parent in a meeting last week, and they asked me, what's your goal for us? What's your goal for my child? And I thought about that for a second, and I said, here would be my goal, and this is my goal for every single student in Hamilton, is when they graduate from Hamilton High School, they have a variety of choices that they can make as a family on what direction their child goes to next. And I don't want those choices to be limited by their lack of exposure to things academically or socially. That may mean that some students choose to go the route of the military, and God bless them. And thank goodness that we have those folks, or we wouldn't be standing up here with some of the liberties that we have. Some of them may go to a technical school. Some of them may be ready to go into the workforce with some type of skill. And some will go to a 4-year school. But my point being with all of that is that our job is to provide them with as many opportunities as possible. And what opportunities they pursue is certainly a personal choice between themselves and their family. Our job isn't to dictate, no, you're going here or you're going there. It's to provide them the opportunity so that they have choice on where they go and what they do. And I think that's a really, really, really important piece to all of this is not pigeonholing kids and families, but providing the opportunity. And you know, some of our students are very blessed and skilled in the fine arts. Some athletically. Some maybe it's a skill in math or art or what have you. And so providing them with those opportunities. AP Art Studio, Advanced Placement Art Studio, is a course that we started this year just because we saw the demand and the need for students that had immense skills in the arts, and we had nothing to really offer them that would enhance their abilities with that. And part of that course is you have to produce a portfolio of your work by the end of the year. And one of the things that we've already seen with those kids, how highly motivated and excited they are to actually display their work. And it's improved immensely because of this whole portfolio piece. That's just one small segment. We didn't have that a year ago. And we do now. The Project Lead the Way program's in its second year. We didn't have that a year ago. The College Credit Plus program that I spoke about earlier is something that's ongoing, but 2 years ago, we didn't have that in our schools. And so all of these things are with the end game of being to provide the maximum opportunity for our families and our students. And so, you know, that between all the soft skills that I've spoken about, the Hawaii trip, the curriculum initiatives, and I spoke a little bit about the writing piece and the preschool piece. We've got an awful lot of moving parts in Hamilton, but I do promise you there is a plan, and that plan involves, you know, not only student improvement and growth, but opportunity when they exit from high school. And so with that, I first of all want to thank each and every one of you. My wife said, there's no way people are going to listen to you for 15 minutes. Because Lord knows I know she doesn't. But I appreciate the opportunity to get up today and speak and to share with you just a few things that are going on in the district. It's a large district with a lot of influences throughout the city of Hamilton, and it's hard to communicate and find various forums to communicate all of these things. So just having that opportunity today to speak to all of you, you know, we're grateful to have that, and we look forward to partnering with not only Rotary, but all the various organizations here in the future. So thank you very much.
Any questions for Mike? He's got a few minutes.
I have a question. You know, not everybody's college eligible or should go to college in terms of their intelligence or what they want to do. We have trouble finding somebody that puts on television that are that type of technical stuff. Are you emphasizing technical schools to really train what we really need?
And that's one of the things that we're looking at, especially with our career tech programming, that we're one of the few schools in the state of Ohio that has career technical education still on our high school campus. Most of those have been farmed out, and so what we're looking real close is on something that you're talking about is what actual tangible skills are we producing for kids when they leave that program, because we know the needs out there, and the needs changed from what it was 10 years ago. And so with that, we are looking at those things and adjusting some of our programming in the next year or two. It's tough to adjust that instantly, but to do that so that when kids come out, we're producing a kid where we know the need and the demand kind of meet one another.
So I commend you for talking about full paid preschool. I think the research shows how important that is to start there. Are you aware of any piece of legislation or anybody sponsoring any bills to make preschool kind of permanently funded?
No, I'm not. And that's really been the biggest barrier with the whole preschool piece is that, how should I put this? There is a number of mandates that we get all the time from the Ohio Department of Education. Very few of those come with funding, unfortunately. So with that being said, we know what's important, and so what we have to do as a district and community is focus in on, we know some things that fundamentally work. We know some things that make a lot of sense. Access to preschool is there's so much research and out there, and just think about it rationally. If I have kids exposed at 3 and 4 and 5 years old prior to kindergarten, they're probably going to be closer to being at grade level when they enter. I mean, it's just a logical progression. And so we have worked hard, and our board has been extremely supportive. Community groups have been extremely supportive of working together. And that's one of the reasons why we've had to pursue, and there's a double-edged sword there, we've had to pursue many relationships to make that happen. That's a good thing. On the other side of that, that also should be followed with funding that right now it doesn't. And so so in answer to your question, right now I do not see that happening. Do I see that maybe happening in the next 5 to 7 years? Maybe. And I think part of it's going to depend on the push and the pressure on legislators to look at that a little differently. But I think that would be my answer to that.
Questions? Anybody else? Okay.
Okay, you guys made it easy on me. Thank you.
Right. Pretty good for us.
Oh, thank you.
Sure, no problem.